Hello, this is Gary from Phoenix Perennials. It is a beautiful sunny day today, getting towards the end of the day, but it's been gorgeous. We've had a great time working in the sun. It is early March, and there's lots of things happening at the nursery. One of the things I'd like to share with you today are perennial edible plants, especially herbs, but also some veggies that you can start growing in your garden and planting in your garden as early as early March. So I'm going to turn this camera around and we're going to take a little tour of our veggie and herb tables and show you some cool stuff that you can start growing right now. So spin this around. Alright, so these are our veggie and herb tables, and as you can see, there is tons of stuff going on at this time of year in the world of edibles. So we're going to start at this end of the table down here, and I'm just going to go through some of the exciting things that you can start gardening with and even cultivate through the winter months. So we're going to see a lot of these little guys as we move through the table, and these are perennial violas. So these are relatives of pansies and relatives of violets. There's lots of different colors, and the flowers are edible. So you can put them in salads, you can use them as garnishes, and or you could also candy them and decorate cakes with them. Next to that, we have sages, and so here's your classic sage, Salvia officinalis, and this is an evergreen plant that forms a mound about a foot or two high, and you can pick sage from it year-round, as well as plant it at this time of year. There are two other types of sages. There's the purple sage, which you can also use for culinary purposes, and beside it, there's a variegated sage called golden sage. If you're really adventurous, you could pick up some cranberries and grow your own cranberries. Beside that, we have rosemaries, and we have a few different kinds of rosemaries. This one right here is called Irene, and this one will be a trailing rosemary. So this one is perfect for growing in pots and trailing over the edge, or growing in hanging baskets, or growing in a wall and letting it tumble over the edge of the wall. Next to it, this is a cultivar of rosemary called Roman Beauty, and next to that, this is another cultivar of rosemary called Madeline Hill. If we take a little peek under the table here, we also have another great rosemary, which I've decorated this area with. This is a golden rosemary, and this one's called Wilma's Gold. It's a trailing rosemary, so this is fantastic for containers, for ornamental purposes, or to spill over a wall, but you can also cook with it because it is extremely fragrant and has all of those great qualities that you expect from a rosemary. So back up onto the table, you can see there are lots more violas as we go along. Here are some mints, and we'll see a little bit of mint as we move along. This one is apple mint. We also have parsleys, which you can start planting right now. We have two different types right now. Here in the picture is Frise Vert Francais. It's a French variety, and we also have the curled parsley. You can also start working with onions and garlics at this time of year. So right up front, we have your classic chives. You can see they're just emerging from the ground. But behind that, we have Welsh onions. Beside that, garlic chives. And then we have a type of garlic called Russian red. And beside that, we have just your normal garlic. And beside that, we have elephant garlic. Those are those giant cloves of garlic that you see in the grocery stores sometimes. With this, you can grow your own. Just at the back of the table here, there are kind of two neat shrubs that I'd like to point out to you. One of them, right here on the right, is a tea plant. And few people know it, but tea is actually a camellia. Camellias are grown ornamentally here, but this camellia is grown, this is the type that is grown for tea and harvested for your orange pekoe or your Earl Grey, for instance. This particular type is a cultivar called Sochi. So you can grow this in your garden, and you can harvest and cure your own tea leaves and make tea with it. Beside that is a plant that's just kind of leafing out. You can see it has all kinds of contorted branches to it, and it looks kind of weird. And I'm going to turn this picture around. There we go. This is called Ponceris, and it's a citrus relative. Ponceris monstrosa is this cultivar with all of the gnarly branches, but this will produce little oranges. It's perfectly hardy for us in our climate, and in fact this species is used as a rootstock to make less hardy selections of citrus even stronger. Coming back down to the table, here are a bunch of mints. And mints are a perennial plant. They can be a little bit crazy sometimes in the garden, so it's best to grow them in a pot or somewhere where they can be contained. There are lots of different flavors of mints. Here's chocolate mint. There's Kentucky kernel mint. Here's one called Eau de Cologne. And there's some apple mint again. Beside the mints, we have the world of culinary thymes. And like the mints, there are a whole bunch of different thymes, all with different flavors. So right up front, this is English thyme. And then back here in the back, this is your classic French thyme. They don't look that different from each other, but their fragrance is definitely different. And some people will have their preferences. Here's just the a common thyme, common culinary thyme. This gold one is called lime thyme, and so it has a thyme fragrance to it, but also a little bit of a limey citrus character. And then this one up front is called spicy orange thyme, and so again it has a little bit of an orangey citrus character to it. And then beside that, here's another thyme. This is called oregano thyme, and so it's got a little bit broader leaves, looks a little bit more like oregano, and again has a little bit of a different fragrance. And it'll, impart different flavors to your cuisine than some of the other thymes. Another great group of perennial herbs are right here. These are oreganos, and there are a number of different kinds of oreganos. This is Italian oregano, and we have two flats back here of Greek oregano, and then golden oregano, which is great for ornamental purposes, but you can definitely use it for cooking. Rhubarbs are another group of plants that you can plant at this time of year. They start emerging pretty early, so you can pop them in and get them going at this time of year. Beside that, we have a weird and wonderful culinary plant. This is called Japanese pepper tree, and you can collect the little seed pods off of it, the little fruits, and you can use those in cooking. Here's something you don't see very much, and they're not emerging, or they're only just starting to emerge right now, but these are horseradish. And so if you'd like to grow your own horseradish, then you can. They have really huge leaves, and they'll be quite kind of stately and ornamental in the garden, so it could be fun to grow your own horseradish. You would have to sacrifice a few roots every once in a while and dig those up, because the horseradish is actually a root, and that's what you grate up to use for cooking purposes. And last but not least, they look like twigs right now. They don't look like much, but these are goji berries. And so this is a shrub which is native to China, and this was touted as another one of those superfruits a couple years ago, along with blueberries, packed with vitamins, especially vitamin C. So these have been a whole bunch of perennial edibles that you could get started with in early spring in your edible gardens or your edible containers. My name is Gary Lewis. There's another plane flying over us. Hopefully you've been able to hear me over some of those. We're right under the jetway, but hopefully you've enjoyed this little bit on edible perennials and herbs for the early spring season. Happy gardening.